bring in none other than, where am I at the moment? Let me just think. Richard Thomas, from as a former mayor of the city of Mount Vernon, is on the line. Thanks for your patience. We had a very heated 1 hour, and so we went a little bit overboard. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, doing well. Thanks for having me on today.
I'm very, very proud of you because did when there were assertions being made that there was a problem with the Mount Vernon Police Department that came from the Department of Justice or from different governmental agencies. You had already advised governmental agencies of the issues in the Mount Vernon Police Department and not appropriate. What is the issue now? I don't get it. You informed all the different agencies that would have oversight with respect to the Mount Vernon Police Department. So why are you the one that they're trying to blame or put this on now?
Scapegoats, the fall guys. When you look at history, you see these figures always taking a fall and being the point of distraction from the real problems and real issues. And that's something that I'm not. I'm not a scapegoat. I did nothing wrong. And what I did was stand up for the people and sacrifice my political life and put my real life in jeopardy because of the things that, I made it a point to confront and protecting people and trying to make sure that justice remains blind, justice is fair, justice is something for a jury of peers to decide with a due process, guarantee from our Constitution, not an axe to grind or not an ego or an overzealous, person that abuses their power to fuel some other type of interest, be it illegal or their own personal, deficiencies. I just know that, it's very difficult to blow the whistle, and it's difficult to withstand the attacks that come with trying to change a big system, especially injustice.
What is what is those that are adversarial or show an adversarial streak, particularly against you, which was evident while you were in the administration, and you were the mayor. Um, what caused that? Was this all indicative of what transpired in the past, where they literally pushed you out of government? Was it because they were somehow concerned that you would reveal who they really were and their conduct? And then it's just now a repeat, this is, they're trying it again?
You know,
You're
it,
supposed to be the fall guy?
I think that's part of their attempt to try and smear me and try and conflate issues. I think that, their whole objective is to try and get people to not think about, the real problems. And what I want to remind people of are the real facts. The real fact is, before I became mayor, the police department in the city of Mount Vernon was a mess. Things got noisy when I became mayor because, interests that benefited from the organized chaos didn't want the change that I was bringing, mainly real safety. And when you look at the numbers, Mount Vernon was safer than Scarsdale, and for many many periods of time. In fact, in 2019, we had zero fatalities by a handgun for the first time in statistical history in the city of Mount Vernon. We put in a lot of work to reverse, the crime culture that gripped the city. And the moment I left office, the crime culture took back over. And those that came after me, they promised safety, and they delivered danger. And they've broken all their promises. And in fact, today the news put out a piece saying that the current mayor reneged on her promise to open the books on the police, and that goes to show you how, you have to have a lot of political courage to stand up to institutions that need to be corrected. And I'm proud to wear all the political scars that I've earned as badges of honor for trying to make things better. And the numbers prove and demonstrate that I certainly made things better for the people of Mount Vernon and the region.
Do you think that that people in Mount Vernon, residents and citizens of the city, do they recognize the disparity of promises as opposed to what you tried to do and failed, and now we find that, or rather not failed, but rather undermined
Undermined, yeah.
by political powers that chose to undermine you? And have they also, do they now also, do you believe, control this particular mayor
I think
in order to deflect for attention from the police department's aberrations of behavior in the past?
so two things. One, I think that, actions speak louder than words, right? So let's just look at the actions. Promises were made, promises were broken. Promises were made to, have all these conversations about police reform, police safety, and nothing has happened over the past couple of years. It's been nothing but talk. And that includes releasing the documents on the police, in addition to releasing the documents on the city's finances. So let's just start, from square one. To me, that demonstrates that there are political strings that puppet the administration. And the question is whether or not, this mayor will cut those strings or not. We don't know. But I know that, I made it a point to operate independently and to make the right decision based on the merits of the issue. And that's why I listened to everyone and kept a door wide open for everyone to walk in, even my enemies. I welcomed them in so I can hear what they have to say because I represented them too. And when we, when they made a point that made business sense, I agreed with it and I did it without regard for the politics because what's right is right.
Mhm. Wow. What about new city council members who have one seat? And there's likely, well, it is a complete changeover from the past. Um, will they be able to push this forward, do you think? Because we're not talking about you and we're not talking about the present mayor. Will the demeanor of the city change with new people in the city council?
I
We
certainly,
don't know that.
I certainly hope so. I mean, look, they're coming in to a situation where they do not have a budget for next year. The current city council that's leaving is leaving them with unfinished business. And as far as I'm concerned, the city council that's leaving, it's indicative of what Mount Vernon has been dealing with. We've been dealing with a do-nothing city council for too long. So I hope that, this new council comes in and I hope that they, invest in the right areas. They don't get distracted by the drama that's trying to be created. And they just focus on let's get a budget done and let's invest in the systems that need to be put in place. Excuse me, systems that need to be strengthened. Because I put in a whole bunch of systems. And it doesn't require a lot of technology. It requires, just management. It requires plain Jane hands-on management. You have to have the right leadership in place to help you manage the issues. And that's something that's not happening right now, even though they got a bigger budget and more money to work with. So I look at this as a new city council. They have to be very focused on just get a budget done in the next 45 days, and then let's move on to investing in a civilian complaint review board, which I've been advocating for many years before I was on the city council. And let's make sure that, everybody has whatever administrative support they need so they can do the work of the people. I don't think it's that difficult.
Well, evidently, when you got into office initially, the city council, was deficient on every level.
Yep.
And they never were able to rip the capacity of the Mount Vernon city controller. He controlled the entire situation, and he created a problem in every department with no oversight capacity and no funding. Now you have a new administration, new people coming into the city council. You got a new controller. Do you think that they will be partners to a government that is there to serve the public interest in Mount Vernon? Will they be the same? Or we don't know yet.
I certainly hope that the new controller partners with the mayor, and I certainly hope the new controller, partners with the council, and I certainly hope that the new controller, is creative in how they go about addressing the longstanding issues that exist. That's my hope. We will see. I think if there's anything to kind of use as a measuring stick, Reverend Morton or Commissioner Morton, Chief of Staff Morton, he has been a very quiet, reliable force in the community for a long time, and I think he's a great bridge between the old guard and the new guard that's rising. So I hope that he continues to be that bridge, and I hope that he helps put structure around the challenges. But more importantly, we just leave some horrific aspects of our past in the past and use it as lessons to not repeat again. Like not paying the fuel bill, not paying for parts for the fire department or the police, like you just described, choking suffocating departments to not have money to function is the wrong thing to do. I mean, we run a very big operation that serves the economy. It impacts jobs, it impacts homeowners, it impacts safety. Let's make sure the city operates and watch how quickly the city rebounds because it's operating as it's supposed to be.
People, I guess to some extent, blame you for what happened in the past. And not knowing, it's just taking creating an opinion from whatever they heard or what they didn't hear. People don't have that much time to really look into what happened. Do you think that people, even though this is you went through a horrendous crisis and then pushed out of office and undermined, like forces that were there to undermine you because you didn't serve them, you wanted to serve the public interest rather than individual interest. Do you think that this gives you an opportunity now for resurrection of who you are and what you tried to do and how you were undermined? Do you think this story will come out?
I
Still will become.
I certainly hope that this is an opportunity for everybody to reflect and become a point of redemption, especially for me, because when you think about, I think about scripture and I think about when Jesus left Bethany and there was a fig tree in the distance. He went to the fig tree to try and get some fruit, and the fig tree was flowering before it bore fruit. And he cursed the fig tree. You couldn't see, what that meant right up front, but it was cursed at its roots. It withered and it rotted. And I believe that's what happened in my case. Like I had to curse City Hall and cast out these evil spirits that have been, harming the people, framing people, setting them up, going after, threatening cops, threatening people, you name it. All these things happened in terms of, just terrible situations that our community went through, including dumping at Memorial Field. So, the impact of losing the park for so long has a tremendous generational effect. So having to literally fight against every problem all at once carries significant consequences and risks. But I do believe the reward has been paying off in terms of, things getting done in the city. The bridges have been replaced, all of them. The sewers are finally getting worked on because the federal judge is forcing the issue. Roads are beginning to be repaved because, this new controller is leaving and vendors are starting to believe that the city will pay their bills to do the work that should have been done many years ago. So I look at this and I say, I'm very thankful that God got me through all of it to be here today, even just talking about it, and to have to confront, you hear about these things all the time, like a corrupt police commissioner, let's just say, who, I held an interview with my former police commissioner and questioned him on his actions to change police reports, seek to delete them, alter them, frame the situation, and ultimately try and portray people in a different light when they shouldn't have been portrayed in that light. And I thought about his actions and his confession that I've audio taped and recorded, and it's available as part of the public record, to be clear. But I think about that and I say, some politicians were okay with that. And I wasn't, obviously, so I fired him for it. And it's like, to do that, it takes guts, and it comes with, as former disgraced Commissioner Kelly said, he would throw me under the bus and retaliate if I were to ever try and tell the truth about him. But I'm not scared of him. I mean, like, you cannot destroy people's lives because that's what you feel like doing. That's not right. It's not justice, and it betrays your oath of office. I mean, there are a lot of other things I could say, but I just know that looking at it from a business case standpoint, when you're the leader, you have to make sure you lead for everybody, and it doesn't matter, who it is. If they're doing the wrong thing, you have to do the right thing, and that's the ultimate lesson from leadership. Do the right thing. You'll get hit. It'll hurt, but in the end, you'll heal, and you'll demonstrate that God will deliver you into better days.
Not everyone has that opportunity in life, and even though people are in public watching, you can make happen when there's a time for election or time of understanding. Was it the fault, is it the fault of media that was not able to find and discern what was going on in the background? Is media that astute to know exactly what's going on in Mount Vernon?
Yeah,
There certainly is a lack of media in Mount Vernon as well as in the county, if I do speak for myself. And, and is there any responsibility on the people who are in government, who have no opportunity to explain what's going on, or are they afraid or mistrustful of media? Is media the only outlet? And if they're not the only outlet or not a valid outlet, is there another outlet for government to get their perspective heard and validated by the people in government who want to express it?
so media is
Question.
it is, but that's why that's why platforms like yours and reporters like you that look at all sides of the issue and do a deep dive into it are very important for a combination of things. One, for the truth to get out, but also two, for people to have access to more information so they can develop their own decision based on the information in front of them. I could present all the facts, that I've been right about literally everything. But, look, every pitcher that plays in Major League Baseball, they don't throw a perfect game. I know I'm not perfect, but I can tell you that, I work very hard to be 100% correct, but also operate, when I was mayor and still as just a regular person, legally, ethically, and morally, because those three principles, legal first, is what is most important. But the media, as you asked, they don't necessarily care about that. Many media outlets focus too much on the hype and the sensation, the drama, the personal issues. And if you go back in time, as you point out, the media was lured into all of these personal, unnecessary controversies that had nothing to do with me or my administration, but that's all they covered. It was like tabloid news, because that's not only what made news, but that's what the enemies knew would distract the people from the real issues, like, the sewers being broken. Or here's a better example. When after Shamoya McKenzie was, taken from us, The day after she passed away, the city council literally voted to defund the Mount Vernon Police Department. They took away funding for 20 cops and the police commissioner. And that was their response to, one of the most egregious crimes of Mount Vernon's history. They chose to make Mount Vernon less safe. And the news never covered that. They just said, "Oh, Mayor Thomas fired Bob Kelly, and Bob is supposed to be this super cop." Bob was crooked as crooked can be. If you are changing police reports and you're confessing to it and then threatening the mayor that you will throw him under the bus and ruin his life if you call him out and make any of this information public, you know, that's what happened. So I feel that, the media got sucked into, this vortex of deception to protect, a group of people that really hurt the people. And as Malcolm X warned, the media can make or destroy somebody, and they certainly went to work to try and destroy me. But I'm happy again that the truth is the truth, and the truth continues to vindicate and exonerate me every step of the way.
Well, the media, their conduct in oversight of the city of Mount Vernon, including the individuals that were there in government. What about, and I'm not looking for any particular names, so I'm not looking for you to accuse this one or that one or another one on any basis, because you don't need more trouble. But in my mind, can you reflect not on any particular person in government, but were people in government that had oversight, some interest in what was happening in Mount Vernon? Were they responsive? Were they interoperable? And why is it that they were not able to insert themselves something that was pertinent under their watch?
So,
Which blows my mind. I think they didn't do the job right.
so group dynamics. When you are a part of a group,
Yeah.
it is very easy for the group to develop group think and to not question what the group is doing. And that was the key thing that I did as a member of the Democratic group that ran Mount Vernon. I said, look, guys, how can we be okay with Memorial Field being shut, not only shut, illegally dumped on? And how can we be okay that, we have no idea what's going on with the city's finances? Like, if our platform is, uplifting people and creating opportunities for, families, how come we're not doing that? How come we're okay with it just being completely broken and going from, cocktail reception to, party, whatever party, and all they do is just drink and talk shit. Like I was not a part of that mentality, and I wasn't a father then, but I was, concerned about how can I be a good dad to my kids if the park has, bullet cases and syringes on the floor. Like, that's not a park. That's a war zone. You don't want your kids growing up thinking that that's normal, right? So, I disagreed with the group. And I think that no matter what group, no matter who you are, you need your group to never forget to treat the people's needs as holy. So I'm proud to not be a part of that group or that group think that tolerates mediocrity. It's a cancer, and it's in those groups can turn on a dime once they realize that their power and their security, their status is being threatened because they're not doing the job that they're privileged to have. So I think it's important for people to create their own groups that believe in magnificence, and we end mediocrity.
Well, I think that when you have, right, you know, as mayor, I think there was a lot of, um, what caused your persona, your integrity, and your capacity, to be undermined? And were all these forces that were deficient in their capacity to govern for the benefit of the public interest. The cause of that? I mean, I'm not looking for you
No, I can answer the question.
trouble, but these people never, you know, how are these people to undermine voters' decision when they vote you in?
They are bureaucrats. They are vendors that benefit from a broken system. They are politicians that are jealous because, they feel that it's their turn to be in charge as opposed to earning the respect of the people. So I believe that, look, the biggest challenge was, not having a network strong enough to withstand the opposing network. And when you look at, the battlefield, the Board of Elections in Westchester was definitely a war zone for me because, my petitions, not just mine, but other candidates that want to challenge and change the status quo, their petitions often get knocked out and they get forced into court where that terrain is very difficult to win unless you have, millions of dollars at your dispense. And that's how the system protects itself. It enmeshes itself into the Board of Elections and various court systems, so that the system of moochers can continue to make sure that they protect their ability to mooch off the system.
Do you think that there are people in the who are really unfamiliar with the day-to-day conduct of so many people, even in a city like Mount Vernon, to be able to engage and discern discern the reality, or are they also influenced by hearsay and by people who have tremendous amount of clout, but they're not necessarily telling it the way it is? One of the problems with our judges too, they're a little bit ignorant.
I think, there are many examples of, courts becoming a very confusing place. And I think that there are many examples of judges that have bias, and there are reports. In fact, there's a report by New York State that says that there are problems with the New York State court system. Judge DeFiore commissioned this report, and the conclusion of the report concluded that the New York State court system is racist. That's what the own report concluded, and Judge DeFiore, who's a chief judge from Mount Vernon, believe it or not, she agreed with the conclusions of the report and said she's going to do her best to implement the changes from that report. And so, based on that report alone, there are definitely problems in the legal system. And my hope is that as people, experience getting the short end of the stick, they don't forget A, that feeling, and B, they remember to show up at the polls, but also show up at the political conversations and let people know what you want. And judge races are very difficult because they don't come up that often. And when they do come up, they're often structured as an appointment, a political appointment, and not a race. So it's a tough place to navigate when it's really cloaked in secrecy and in politics. But that's how it is right now. So the only way to really change that is to be a part of the conversation for the long term and not be surprised when you don't get the treatment or the outcome that you want because, there's too much politics in our system.
Definitely is a lot of politics, and even in our court system that's been known for a long time. If they're not an answer when you're being assaulted and undermined by other powers that be, whether they be developers or whether they be people who believe that they have clout within certain communities within a city, and there usually are. The disparities between people, whether it be ethnic, whether it be language, whether it be color, a million and one reasons. Oh, of course, gender, and so on and so forth. So if we look at it that way, people in government, are they failing themselves? Did you fail yourself by not finding an avenue to get your perspective heard?
No, I think it's part of the process, and I believe that it's part of the struggle to get progress, where people have to see something horrific happen, like, a political career being undermined and set up, stuff that's made of movies. But the conspiracy is reality. The conspiracy is reality here, and I can assure you that I believe people are watching and seeing how the system, interacted and colluded to create such chaos and havoc to block real progress. And I can only tell you that, yeah,
Quick, I didn't mean
that's okay.
to. But the question is, do people really understand, or is the discussion so oblique, so undecipherable for people who haven't watched this whole scenario happen over the last 4 years?
So
They realize what happened. Have they learned the lesson, and what is the lesson that they've learned?
I think that,
Because I don't think that that's smart.
well, and that's, I'm glad you went that way, because I think it's becoming more simple for people to understand. And in that simplicity, they can now, rethink and unpack the big lie that they've been told. And this is why I'm very proud of the presence of the Department of Justice, because even though it took this long to get them here, they are here. And the actions, and this is what I said yesterday on another show. I said, the jury is out on Sean Howard, Mount Vernon's mayor, current mayor, because she made a lot of promises. She promised safety, delivered danger. She promised transparency, and implemented secrecy. So she has to deal with these real issues that she created, not me. She created those issues, and only she can correct that. And
Same forces undermine you
mhm.
look undermining her. And she
I can't.
partner in government.
I so
But she had a failed city council
well. She also
appropriately. She also had no control
no.
that decided to disperse funds like you did.
Yeah,
You didn't have that either.
but
And there was no openness about her conduct, and she was defended by this lawyer from White Plains and
yeah, Asheville.
Ashmouth,
Yeah.
who protected her. And at the end, we are where we were when you were in office because none of the mechanisms of government were functioning.
Well, let me add
She's
to.
not going to really be able to function until she's got a new group of people in the city council.
But let me add to that, Hezi. Let me add to that, because I don't want to take away from the fact that the controller has blocked the current mayor, and the controller of Mount Vernon has also stopped the entire real estate industry in the city. You don't hear about that story at all. Closings can't happen, people can't sell their homes, transfer taxes that are supposed to be paid not collected. You go down the list, right? All these problems that she created, but yet no action. So I just want to come back now to the mayor, because she at one point had a very good relationship with the city council, and she has the power with the city council to make changes around the controller, but she never did it. And that's my point. It's like, while
Okay, but isn't your point erroneous? It sounds great, but look, we're not here to bash the new mayor.
no, we're not here to bash, but I'm just pointing out that this.
The line is, why weren't you able to do exactly the same thing that you want her to have done?
So let's.
I want to be fair.
Correct. And so this, to be fair, this is the distinction I'm drawing. The city council and the controller actively worked against me all the time. That was just a fact, and it shows by their vote.
Okay,
In her case, the city council worked with her on a number of occasions. And the new, in this control that's there now, I won't say that she worked with her, but they were able to work things out at first. But when the mayor had the chance to work with the council to make corrections around the controller. They chose not to do it. That's it. It's just very simple. When they had the opportunity before COVID hit, after COVID hit. No, but Hezi, hold up. But the structure, and this is why people get, she explained, right. The controller was protected not just by the controller was not just protected by Hashmo, she was protected by serious political powers. But I just want to emphasize that the way Mount Vernon is structured.
Well, let's call how people that were running from the party, let's face it, Mount Vernon's a Democratic city.
Mm-hmm.
Democrats were
to me
were close.
To me, it was Governor Cuomo and Eric Schneiderman. Those two guys were, behind a lot of the drama that was caused. And, I mentioned this the other day that the attorney that represented me at one point and I had a falling out with, and I couldn't understand why, is now representing Governor Cuomo in all his different ordeals. So to me, it's clear that, whatever happened to me had a high hand involved and a very big reach. And it's just, look, I can tell you that if the leaders in Mount Vernon wanted things to change, it would change. And that's why we have a new council and a new controller. And we hope that those new leaders will change the situation.
However, you were mayor and this president's mayor, you've not been able, neither one of you has been able to change the equation.
So
Governor Cuomo.
No. I'm adding more context for people to factor in. And so
why didn't he could have done? What's he bring up?
Well, that's the other question. It's like you look out and you learn about Schneiderman's dealings. Like I knew that he had problems.
Had a lot.
Exactly. And but those corrupt things and this so to add to that, it's about politics is how much you know about politics is a question that people listening and watching should ask themselves. Politics is a blood sport, especially in New York. And whatever they can do to get you out of a race from being a threat, they'll do it, including setting you up and violating your due process. And I can tell you that, look, it was done to Reuben Wills in Queens, and it was done to me, and others were attacked too. But the key thing is how you respond, and the objective is to survive and thrive. And that's what I've done. But I've also been able to validate and vindicate myself, time and time again through the presence of outsiders coming in to ask the same questions and address the same concerns that I raised. And this is where I want the rubber is going to meet the road for you. There are 2 points. One point that was raised by the Journal News, right? The current administration, current mayor has chosen to not be transparent, even though they promised transparency. They haven't done it. 1. 2, the other part is with respect to the city's finances, the audits of the city. Many of them have been done, but they're hidden from public view. And the question is why? And once we get those audits, Hezi, we'll be able to, with certainty, tell, what the current mayor is doing. Is she doing something that's going to help the people or hurt the people? Those audits have the answers, but we don't have those audits. No matter how we've asked for them, foiled for them, they should be available to the public, but they're hidden. How come Mount Vernon is the only city without an audit?
Month. From the very beginning, when the mayor came into place,
Mm-hmm.
I thought we would have some sort of relationship that was open. I wasn't looking for anything special. It wasn't like I needed to know this, I needed to know that. I was there. I was very supportive. I was hopeful. But her staff sucked. I never got any notice of what was going on. Never got advance notice about anything. And they used to go to media that really failed them, but then maybe they didn't know what was going on either. And, it's like I don't need to beg anybody to understand what the issues are because I pay attention. But I'm sorry, they're failing, and I know they're failing. And you know what? They have a lousy reputation because it's failing and still continues. I want to be balanced about it.
But their actions show, yeah,
But the lack of action, the lack of openness,
yep.
evident by their um, uh, lack of decorum, especially when it comes to me. But then again, you know what? I'm used to this. I went through it with other communities as well.
Yep.
At the end of the day, I'm here, and the good Lord keeps me here. So as long as I'm here, there'll be someone to watch over the school.
That's right.
And that's important.
So,
But
let's just,
you know what?
I think,
There's no hope for the future, even with this new crowd coming.
so let's look ahead, let's look ahead. And I think looking ahead, we have an opportunity to start fresh in January. And I think, the public should have a 90-day clock, for the new council and the new controller to see exactly how they respond to the issues and challenges they're faced with. And let's see if, the administration can deliver on the things that, they promised, be it transparency or safety. I will predict here and now that there will be a bunch of fluff press conferences, mainly from, the governor's office, showcasing the ability to do infrastructure projects in Mount Vernon using all of the Biden bucks that are available. I guarantee that you'll see a lot of the show because Westchester, particularly Mount Vernon, is now a political hot zone for votes. Mount Vernon is one of the strongest enrolled communities in the county of Westchester for Democrats. And I'm predicting that there will be a role for your voice and my voice to play in making sure that voters know the facts as they make their decision when they go to the polls. So my door is open to talk with all of these public officials or potential officials that want to get elected. And I'll be more than happy to talk with them, with you on your show or separately on some of my stuff that I'm doing because people need to know where they stand. And I look forward to, being a voice, an active voice in the conversation that's going to shape the outcome of this upcoming election in June.
We have an election in June, so do you think that, well, Governor Hochul at the moment seems to be the most popular, he's got like 40% of the vote, or rather potentially the 40% of the populace is supporting her for re-election. Do you see that this is going to be happening? Do you think her focus will be once you've got a new administration in place, a new controller, new city council members, the old mayor, who's not old, but the mayor, and president, and
I think,
predominantly Democrat. You can't win if you're not a Democrat in Mount Vernon.
right.
So you could
Well,
come in.
look, hang on. Hey, Hezi, I don't know. I think Mayor Byron Brown proved a point with his write-in election. I think Mayor Brown proved that the people are watching and listening. I mean, he ran a write-in campaign and trounced the Democratic nominee. Trounced. I mean, 36,000 write-ins to a couple thousand people voting at the polls. Like, trounced.
Right.
But, look, I just think that it's about authenticity and I think it's about, your work ethic. And right now, we're lacking that in Mount Vernon. And I hope that next year we'll see some action that really helps move the needle in the city. Even Ernie Davis is complaining about the situation at Memorial Field and how the county, and he's bemoaning. But I'm just telling you, yeah, but correct. But I'm just pointing out Yeah, he failed Mount Vernon and he helped create this culture, this cancer that we're dealing with right now. But I'm just pointing out facts like, you know, what I care about is Mount Vernon and the outcome. And the outcome has to be safety and it has to be, something that makes sense. And right now, we're dealing with a situation in the Mount Vernon Police Department. It does not make sense to the people, but the Justice Department is going to do a report. They're going to investigate, and hopefully they make recommendations that this administration will actually implement. And I hope that it becomes a consent decree, but we'll see what happens. I can tell you that I'm watching this very carefully, and I look forward to talking to the Department of Justice as they do their review. And I look forward to, hopefully getting this new city council to install actual governance systems for Mount Vernon.
Hmm.
It's possible.
Just in case people weren't aware, as you mentioned Byron Brown. He is the mayor of the city of Buffalo.
Yep.
He's the and he's been there since about the middle of the 2000s.
It's been there 20 years.
Maybe 5, that
Yeah, about 20 years.
years now.
20 years, 20 years.
20 years. Oh, that's right. That's right. Oh my
20
God.
years.
What time flies when I'm having fun.
Yeah. Well,
So he's having fun too. And he's doing cover. He's doing really good.
yep. And, look, I just know that if people have questions, I'm open to answer them. And I'm going to be talking to some folks tomorrow that, historically have not agreed with me, but now they have no choice but to agree on the issues that I've been raising. And, I look forward to just making it clear. There's nothing personal about my approach to politics. It's all professional. And that's what I hope that my example inspires. It inspires people to keep politics professional. And if you're gonna, try and compete with somebody, try and compete with them on the level and not, undermine and do all of the things that don't make any real sense, that hurt and try to impugn people unnecessarily. It's not necessary to do that. If you got an idea, run with it. If you don't, then just be quiet.
Write, write like a couple of paragraphs every day and create an outline and write a book about all this.
Deal.
It's going to be telling. It's going to be a story the whole nation will read, and it will give them an understanding of what they need to know and what they shouldn't tolerate, and how to make changes in government not conducive to their promises and not conducive by enacting law that satisfies their promises. And that's why supposedly people vote for them.
Yep.
That's the problem. We hear that the sun is bright, then when we look out the window, it's overcast. And that's the way, quite often, is what happens after we vote people into office. And then the other thing is, the book, I think, is going to be really very important. You also need to create a new mechanism. Maybe you'll want to get back into government as opposed to maybe anything else.
We'll see.
That should be something to think about.
We'll see. I'm open to
Book will help.
I'm open to all ideas. And I look forward to playing a role in any way to make things better for people and businesses. So right now, my focus is to just remain active in the discussion, and we'll see where things go. But I appreciate the time to talk about the issue today, and I know that a lot of people have a lot of questions, but the police corruption and everything is real. So we're going to continue to watch this.
I want to ask you one last.
Yeah.
I want to ask you one last thing about Memorial Field. Is anything happening there? Because I hear talk about it, but I don't see anything that's happened.
Well, Memorial Field is
I haven't gone.
Memorial Field is slowly inching along. It is, in my view, being victimized and abused more. They increased the budget dramatically. but they took out much of the services. There are no elevators. The bathrooms are not where they're supposed to be. So if you're handicapped or disabled, you're going to have a struggle to get around the stadium there. It's wrong. There's no press box like they promised. So it's kind of like, why are they taking out all of the key features that's going to activate the stadium? And why are the Democrats that are supposed to be looking out for people, looking out for our kids, reneging on their promise? And that's all of them.
Well, why is
Even the track, like the track was downsized. The track was downsized.
But why is the Mount Vernon boy, who's now the county executive, talking like it's a good game, but he hasn't delivered either? I mean, when
You know,
when we can get people who can deliver on, or is there no such thing anymore?
I
Maybe I'm just an old buzzer.
no, I think
Just thought that's the way it used to be, not anymore.
that's going to be one of his greatest regrets, is reneging on his promise to deliver, on the potential of Memorial Field. I think that's going to be a regret of the county executive, and I think it's going to be a regret
Maybe his regret, that's the problem,
ours.
people in Mount Vernon are gonna suffer his regret.
Well, and that's where, I look forward to.
Call it spade a spade.
Yeah, it is what it is, and that's what it is right now, and that's why they wanted this mayor in, because this mayor and council agreed to a bad deal at Memorial Field. That's the fact, and you can look at it, you can see it in your face play out in slow motion. So
I kept asking about this every time I had a discussion with Mayor Sean Patterson Howard.
Yeah.
It's moving along.
well, it's moving along at a snail's pace. It's on a political calendar. Yeah, it's on a political calendar and it's on a political price. And if you look at the change orders very closely, you'll see, all of the funny business that's going on there. But the Attorney General is not looking at that. Attorney General doesn't care about that. Attorney General is only focused on, trying to get elected. And that's what I think from a broader issue, from a bigger issue. One of the things that I think Governor Hochul should really think about is introducing legislation that requires any person that sits in the seat of Attorney General to, be Attorney General and then be barred from running for a higher office for a period of time, maybe 3 years after they're out of office or 6 years, who knows. There has to be a different mechanism for the Attorney General's office to become less political. Because if you look at the history of Attorney Generals, they've been political nightmares for all sorts of people and industries. They haven't demonstrated, blind justice. They've demonstrated, pure politics. And I'm case in point, just to give one of them. So I hope that the governor takes that for action, and I hope that the legislature seriously acts on that, because we don't need the Attorney General to attack the governor and then to run for that seat. That's just.
Well, that was the big issue. I don't think Governor Hochul is going to with change. Then again, she's only running 5% in the poll.
Well, but still, it goes back to the point we discuss of undermining. Because if you have this person that's next to you constantly trying to put a stick in your wheel to stop you from going forward, which is what happened to me with the controller wanting to be mayor, and it's just, we have to have guardrails. There have to be limits, and I think that that's an ethical limit that we should draw, so we can hopefully get a better performing system at the highest level of our state, but also in different places and different aspects of government.
No prospect of any of that solution,
Hey, unless we talk it up,
Enough.
unless we talk. Yeah.
Okay,
Well,
so what?
like you said, I'm gonna write it down, and hopefully they read it, and hopefully they do it. So we'll take it from there.
Down, down. Come on over.
Yeah, we'll talk about manipulation, how democracy is manipulated by money power.
No, it is what it is. I think there's a need for it. Mount Vernon is an important city,
Yeah,
and in a big
culturally, entertainment, yep, spiritually.
it makes a difference what happens in Mount Vernon.
Yep.
And the fact that it has a large black population, it's even more pertinent. May not have been pertinent 10 years ago. You know, more people are aware
Yep,
than they ever have been.
yep. Well,
And the legacy of Mount Vernon demands that Mount Vernon does well. The history is rich, and yet now it's wallowing in poverty, mentally and
yeah, well,
financially.
we'll get out of this hole and we'll be proud of the work that we discussed today. We're gonna get out of this hole, I promise you.
Well, from your mouth to God's ears, as we speak.
Amen.
Thank you very much for your time. Um, you know, I didn't realize I was so involved in what you had to say. I didn't realize we spent, you know, probably close to an hour. So forgive me.
No worries. You know, look, we got to get through it.
So we need to close. Any last words?
No, I look forward to talking on Friday. Friday at 11. We'll be back again.
Thank you so much. Well, thank you.
All the best.
And
Thanks. Bye.
New York folks, Thomas, he's the former mayor of the city of Mount Vernon, and hopefully he'll write a book, very compelling story, political forces, and sometimes undermine people that we admit to office and makes them incapable of actually abiding by their promise because political forces want to undermine them. It's all a game, and it's got to stop. And there's got to be a mechanism to put an end to it. The media can do something about it. Hopefully people in government can do something about it by telling it the way it is, when it's happening. And you need to find people you can trust to tell it the way it is. So that's the story. We'll speak to you tomorrow. I